Yeah, good afternoon. Hi. There are advantages of being the first one to speak. If it doesn't go well, you forget by the end of it. If it goes well, the organizers are happy. So, yeah, I'm taking a chance there. Okay. I'm going to walk you through certain stories of my life. And, I picked up a topic which says authenticity needs no storytelling. I think it's self explanatory because when you actually go by the authentic definitions of storytelling, it is a projection of sorts, right? But then behind that is a set of people who are trying to actually quote unquote spin the story. I'm using this word deliberately, but can we actually go beyond just spinning stories to trying to be ourselves, our authentic selves, to communicate, or just be ourselves, and through that process perhaps we can communicate just by the sheer fact that we are. That's the attempt. And I think as I'm also going to set the stage to where do I have. Okay, I'm going to set a context to this whole thing, the next 10 odd minutes that I'm going to stand here and try and attempt to communicate. What I'm going to talk about is largely first-hand experiences of my life, because very early in my life I realized if I don't know, I do not have the authority of speaking about it. And therefore, going by that principle, I'll speak about what I know. And yeah, it's up for debate. We can have a, question answer. You can refute. I'm happy because, that's how learning processes happen. I'm proposing a few things which I believe have worked for me. And it's a proposal, mind you. A proposal is something that you do not take on face value, but you can check all these things for yourselves, authenticate and make it a part of your life. Yeah, and yeah, I've already said this. Feel free to debate, question. You can stop me in between if you want to ask something and you don't believe in what I'm trying to say. That also kind of adds flavor to this conversation. I hope it is as cliche as it may sound, and as sometimes controversial when you bring up topics like Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana in a day and age like today. But this is the fact of my life. It's quite self-explanatory because I think all of us have been driven this down through growing up years, wherever we are. But what does it really mean? What does it mean to have an agenda-less action? I think, a lot of these things I'm putting up here is because it's also kind of, as much as I will try and put forth something to you, it's also an imposition within yourselves. So I really don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm just attempting, because we conditioned from the time perhaps we kind of even take inception, right? A baby is born or is to be born, And there are a lot of these signals and impulses which condition us at various levels, yeah? Knowingly, some happen, unknowingly, some happen generationally. We're a result of a lot of generational conditioning too. The way we are, what we do, what we say, how we are, context, traditions, so on and so forth, So in all of that, there is sometimes something which creeps in without us being very conscious about it. An agenda, let me call that an agenda for now, for just so that I can communicate this well. An agenda of trying to be somebody else for someone else's eyes. And that's what we're all about. We're looking at somebody else and we're saying, oh my God, look at this person, look at me. Or do I have the capacity of doing this? Oh, there's somebody else who's doing it better than us. And it's not, a little more, okay. This is better, okay. It's not so much that we do it consciously. It's very unconscious. Why is it unconscious? It is because of the set of conditions that we're put to in the society when we're growing up. There's only one person who can, come first in class, and I think that says it all. Because everybody is trying to be this number one. Yeah, we want to be the best, we want to be number one, we want to be A grader, 100%, a gold medalist, so on and so forth. And it begins there, or it begins even before that, when a child takes a little step and the parents say, wow, you're a superstar. Yeah, of course, I won't go to I don't think we have too much of a negotiation time here to going into all these thought processes, but I'm just tickling your senses to putting your attention to these things. It's a conditioned world, we're forever conditioned to trying to, look at something and say, hey, you know what, yeah, this is the way it is. And many a times people come back to saying, this is the way it is. But is it? Is it really? Who are setting standards in the society? Who are setting standards for us? Because each one of us here are responsible for setting a standard for ourselves, and therefore collectively, and therefore for the society, and therefore for the human race. And we're supposed to be the most human, intelligent human beings, or, the highest achievement of evolution, in this world or the universe or whatever we know of so far, right? If that is true, then how is it that you can achieve an agenda-less action? Because we are conditioned with an agenda. Everything comes with a signal. Everything has an impulse. Every little thing. This light, the dress you wear, the glasses she's wearing, whatever we choose, your hair, anything, right? It has something behind it. Have we ever paused to question why? Why am I doing this? Why am I wearing this? Why am I being who I am? I think when we actually look at this shloka, which is here, that kind of gives you clarity in terms of trying to say that, yeah, okay, great. I am a set of conditioned reactions and, action. But is it possible that I can actually overcome, supersede, and figure out that, hey, you know what, there is something which is posed in front of me, which is a life situation, let us say. Yeah, or in an entrepreneurial situation, I have this kiddo of solving a problem, and therefore it is there. I'm trying to solve this problem. Yeah. How best am I going to deal with it? Am I going to deal with it by looking at what the market says? I'm going to pick up this idea because, funding milegi, nahi valuation acha hoga, or whatever. I hope people are okay if I kind of use Hindi and English and, promise to stick to only 2 languages. But on the contrary, can I actually flip this and try and say, hey, you know what, there is a situation that's posed in front of me. Can I actually try and be true to it without kicking in any other conditionings or agenda or, oh, you know what, okay, if I do this, I'm going to be a unicorn or whatever else corn that is there these days. Can I actually just try and see, is it possible that I'm solving a problem for the sheer joy of solving that problem, right? I think that's also another context setting. So a large part of what I would be talking about also comes from this premise where it says, pause, here I am. How can I be agenda-less and try and be truthful to whatever I am doing? There are a lot of other things kind of flow. So the minute you say, okay, pause, let me check, it just opens up to an immense sense of possibility. It kind of lightens you up because you're not kind of trying to live up to somebody else's expectations, And then what happens? You just, it's just the sheer joy of looking at trying to solve a problem maybe for an entrepreneur. Or even just looking at your own life and trying to say, okay, I'm here right now, what am I going to do with it? And, many of us, I think for women, this is a bane that we have as much as, we have this, we're very good multitaskers. We can think beyond and we have a lot of these plus points. There are a lot of these baggages we carry too, Acha, I have to play the role of X, like a wife, a mother, a colleague, or whatever. There are these standards that I think the society, which we're responsible for also, poses. And it puts us into a situation where you don't know, sometimes you're juggling, okay, am I going to be this or that? And how can I actually do all of it together? Can I actually, and also I think all of us have this, we want to do everything with sincerity to the best of our abilities, and we want to be the best in everything. With all of that, the possibilities kind of, come crushing down because our mind, a large part of the possibility of what we can do is caught in trying to project ourselves to someone else in a particular cabin that we want to fit. Bahu, beti, CEO, and these days, of course, it's never ending. I'll leave it to your imagination, and a lot of things, arise, emerge as and when we look inward. So it's not, and many things are common. A large part of them are also very specific to a situation that we may be in. And, I'm saying this with full respect for everyone's situation, but I'm only saying that, there is a possibility that you can overcome all of this when you can collapse all expectations that we have for ourselves and open ourselves to possibilities, right? So let me also try and see if I can juxtapose a few personal experiences alongside. Yeah, open to possibilities. By the way, most of these things that you see here are my own creations. I'm a ceramic artist also. And that was the possibility, serendipitously, one day I touched clay in my mid something 36, 37 years. I was at the peak of my entrepreneurial career. And, a lot of my expectations I had for myself to perform collapsed when I touched clay. It flipped my life. And that's when I told myself, can I actually engage with this medium and unlearn everything that I have learned so far? Because my mind was, I don't know, I think it would just zoom through all possibilities, playing all roles. Here you are, you're looking at something, you're trying to say, okay, I'm going to solve this problem. What's the best way of solving the problem? You're thinking, hey, product, you're thinking marketing, you're thinking sales, you're thinking, saying the right thing to communicate, and a bunch of other things. And my mind was very busy. It was super busy. And the day I touched clay, I realized, damn, this is calm, And then the challenge started, which was, what am I going to do? Because, it makes you really very insecure when you find calm. What do you do? Yeah. Then I think the only thing that helped me at that point in time was that I was open to the possibility that clay posed in my life. As much as perhaps I've been open to any possibility that life has posed, because most of what has happened in my life, I would term it as serendipitous, because I was open and I was in a situation where I could brace it. Yeah. So, result is, I think I can call myself a ceramicist as of today, because I love playing with clay and I make some good stuff, right? Yeah. So, this is a small example of what happens when you're open to possibilities, rather than trying to, fit yourself in terms and conditions, or, what is the world going to say? Is it a possibility that I'm going to, break a stereotype, not break a stereotype, follow? Of course, these are questions, again, you'll have to go into your own inquisition. I'm happy to chat about it offline, or if you have any questions right now, I can answer that too. So when you actually are open to possibilities and you go on this surge of trying to say, okay, things are as they are, but then what can we do to make a difference to our own lives? Yeah, is when there's something called a genuine expression that comes through, right? Because it's coming from a very, very pure place. Yeah, a certain spontaneity comes in the minute you're open. Yeah, and then you just realize that, every moment is a perfect moment in your life. Yeah, anything else that comes in your mind, oh, I could have said my previous sentence better, is a criticism that I hold with myself, because I hold myself in a certain light, of this being perfectionist, or, as somebody who can't, flounder with English language or whatever, right? But it was exactly meant to be that way, is another way of looking at things, Then life becomes quite light, right? And also, as an entrepreneur, because the only thing I remember being is an entrepreneur, because I've always tried to solve problems, looked at things as to how I can better things. And then, of course, lots of things happened serendipitously, whether it was Madhouse Media or, Morpheus. And each time there's a responsibility you take on, and it weighs heavy on you, because there is something that you're trying to achieve or overachieve, or whatever the situation is, And there are a set of, all of this kind of goes back to perhaps my own life experiences, which gave me that, what? I have to be this perfectionist because I feel I need to do it better. Or maybe somebody in the passing said, ye to kuch nahi kar sakti, That could have weighed heavy on me. And then, there I'm going, I'm trying to say, okay, I'm going to achieve this, solve problem, and solve problem to the best of my ability. I'm going to ace this, all of that. And suddenly, you realize that every moment of your life is a perfect happening. It's very counterintuitive. It can make you, at least for me, it took a while for me to even, believe that, hey, yeah, is there a possibility of that sort? But yes, of course, I've come to brace it. It is a possibility, and life becomes so beautiful after that. Somebody was asking me, what are your plans? What are you looking? I think, Sarita was just asking me, I said, what are you looking forward to? What is the next thing? I said, I just live life, it's a celebration, right? And that celebration happens when you believe that everything is perfect in this moment. Yeah. And that kind of gives you a lot of things that you can achieve, because your mind is not busy on things which you're not supposed to pay attention to, which is what perhaps we all do right now. So what happens when you're spontaneous and you feel that, yaar, sab kuch hi badhiya hai? You're letting your guard down, And one of the things that I learned that we're conditioned to do is pulling up our guards. only because we're projecting what we are not. I will fit into that dress where I'm not really comfortable with. I'll wear that makeup because it's the trendiest makeup. I'm saying this with a liberty because it's all women, guys, but full respect for whoever does that, as long as you can relate to it. I can't, I tried, and interestingly, as a personal anecdote, I'm born in Bangalore, South Indian, to a very simple family, who wore organic cotton all their lives. And I'm married to a Punjabi family, okay? You know the story. I tried my best. And then I gave up. I said, no, this is not me. I can't do this. No more lipsticks. No more makeup. It has a purpose. I worn makeup in my life. I did theater. So, it has a purpose, right? When it's not, I don't want to indulge in it because that's not who I am. I'm not comfortable in my skin if I can't do that, right? If you're comfortable and you're perfectly there, it's fine. It's, you have to embrace it. It's not about bad or good, but this is my reality. I cannot. And therefore I will not, only because, I just want to be genuine. I want to be me in my skin. I don't care about how people are judging me, what they're saying, what they're not saying, and becomes very relevant when you actually are an entrepreneur trying to achieve something, You're trying to solve a problem. You cannot let your mind go into these things. It's just useless. It's futile. It kind of takes you back like 20 hours, and anybody, just can make a comment. And if you actually are weighing it heavy, then you're done. Your day is gone. Somebody in a passing says, "Acha, ye kya jute hain?" That's it. But it's not worth it. And how do you counter it? You can only counter it when you actually are trying to say, what, okay, great. None of us are perfect. We're all work in progress. Come on. That makes life so easy. All of us are work in progress. We're all trying our best. How can you judge somebody else when you all know, when all of us know that we're all trying our best and we're all work in progress? Khatam ho gayi na kahani. Chalo, let's all try, let's all, and then fear is gone because basis of fear is when you are evaluating yourself from the lens of another. Now you're not anymore. Okay, I am comfortable the way I am. Tumhe jo sochna hai, soch lo. It's not going to affect me, And if it's not going to affect me, this person who is sitting here, who may be judging me, will also stop judging me because it's not affecting me, because it's an action and reaction. When a reaction doesn't come for a particular action, then there is no fuel to it. That's how I guess there is going to be world peace. I think the next one is this, once you let go, become more vulnerable, it's but natural for you to form a connection with oneself. The world kind of pushes you to trying to say that you have to make connections, external connections, network, net worth, valuation, Let's kind of flip that. There's a different way of looking at it, Are you networked within yourself? How deep are you connecting with yourself? Yeah. Are you aware of your situation with your own lens and nobody else's? Because I think that is the most crucial. When you are actually, centered within yourself is when you can actually bring about real change and make a difference. Otherwise, you're not creating otherwise. You're only reacting to a set of situation. And action and reaction is what creates a lot of turmoil. We're living in an age and time when everybody is acting and reacting. Look at the number of wars we're having. We do not have ability to sustain an other counter opinion in this world right now. Result is because of action and reaction. If we can pause, look at ourselves and say, hey, this is my situation. I accept my situation. I'll try and be more aware. I'll observe what is happening. Every little word that comes out of my mouth, I am counter-observing it, trying to say, okay, there's so much more I can learn. That kind of brings you into a very, very good position where you're completely aware, you're connected with yourself. Connection also brings in truthfulness, because if you're not true to yourself, you can never connect with yourself. Reality of my life. I think all of us are very used to a particular pitch. We create an image of ourselves in our own minds only because there's a disparity of sorts, okay? As we're evolving as human beings and whatever life is posing, we're becoming very, for want of a better word, mental human beings. I wanted to use the word intellectual, but we're not. We're becoming mental human beings, We think that we're being intelligent, but we have a mind, and our body and our being is not connected with each other, unfortunately. Okay. For whatever reasons, I think, evolution has to go through, and, whatever life has posed us with a set of, situation, we're at a position right now where we think, but we don't. Yeah. We have a lot of projections about ourselves, but our actions do not match up with those projections. And therefore, we have a kahani around us. You go pitch that kahani to two people, they like it. That's it. That's your narrative. Yeah. And of course, in a day and age like today, when there is a lot of these, very short-term impulses that we are getting, that our minds are being bombarded with, like social media, right? As an example. And it has its pluses, but of course it has, heavily weighing consequences. And one of the consequences are that because there are all these impulses which are coming in, you really don't know who you are anymore, because, there's a very thin line between reality and simulated reality. We were having that conversation yesterday, right? So in that situation, what do? Because tumhe pata hi nahi hai ki kahani kya hai. Where are you going? Who is it? Whose kahani is this? Yeah. Truthfulness comes into being, and I believe that all of us have that little voice. I don't know how many people watched the first version of Inside Out. 2 is coming now. There's always that little voice, right? That voice is trying to tell you, boss, this is it. This is it. The more you kind of, build that kahani around you, that voice kind of goes feeble and feeble and feeble and feeble and feeble. But it's still there. It's a matter of trying to, cut that noise and say, okay, hey, voice, come up. Where is me? And then me comes in as it is, as I call it, naked, with no projections, with no filters. Because this is what, it's popular to have filters. Of course, yeah, Instagram mein bhi filter hote, photo mein filter hote, pata nahi kya kya hota hai, and then we're always projecting, right? Is it possible that for you to drop these projections and these filters for a moment, just for one minuscule moment, then you'll realize that, hey, you know what? Wow, there's a better place in there. From there emerges authentic action, because somehow you've kind of connected with yourself as you observe. It's definitely a struggle. It's definitely a nice journey where you churn from inside out. Caterpillar to butterfly is an analogy which I can think of. Yeah. From there, an authentic action emerges, right? For me personally, when I went through this transition, I was at the peak of my so-called quote-unquote entrepreneurial career. Yeah, I had sold Madhouse Media to 70mm, and then we were the first ones to start a startup accelerator called Morpheus. Yeah, and we had done about 10 batches of companies that we had that had gone through this acceleration program. And it was at a time where India did not know what startups were, and it was a time when there were about 4 VCs in town. 5th, 6th, 7th happened in front of us. Yeah, and one of the largest VCs in the world had given a special fund to carry forward our work. And this happened, and I couldn't relate to anything. I looked around and I said, we were talking about building value. We were talking about building products for this country because we thought that we had it in us. And suddenly, everybody were talking about valuation. Everybody were talking about, acha, Series A raise ho gaya, Series B kisse raise karenge? Okay. And then there was this, how do we project ourselves worthy of a Series B? Everybody were looking at Excel sheets and projecting. But nobody was looking at, hey, is it practically possible? What value am I creating? And what is the damage that I'm creating in the society if I'm just going on this valuation game? Suddenly, this is a question I had. I went to my partners and I said, guys, you know what? I think we're only supporting devils. Ye to chalega nahi. Ye to chalega nahi. Right? Jab chalega nahi, to chalega nahi. We said, okay, fine. We went to the VC. We said, sorry, we can't invest anymore. Maaf kar do, don't give us another tranche. And we wound up, And from there, I went into the surge of trying to say, hey, can I actually be who I am and truly, can my actions arise out of who I am? And I think this becomes very, relevant for entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs innately are problem solvers, right? If you cannot look at it in the eye and say that, hey, you know what, I am going to solve this problem and be true to it, and not follow any trend in the society or, acha ye is, I know of a lot of entrepreneurs who come to me and say, hey, you know what, I want to work to solve this problem only because that's trending. Trending because a VC is going to give me money. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. And then we become channels of change because we're connected to ourselves, and every action of ours is so powerful that you can actually bring about change. Because obviously action without an agenda, okay, holds immense power because you're not preaching about it anymore, you're living it. And I think I'm very comfortable in my skin to saying this. From the time I have had this change, every individual I've interacted with has always come back to saying, you know what, it actually has had a transitionary effect in my life. I want to leave with a thought, and hopefully that could be a thought, a further discussion too. If you actually, all of us studied how evolution works, evolution of life has worked, right? School mein, idhar udhar. Yeah. The fact is, as human beings, we are the most evolved species right now without a breakage. Yeah. But unfortunately, the evolution has not gone further because somewhere I think our mind has been, a limiting factor where we have said, okay, we've arrived, we're going to rule this world and many other universes. So we don't really need to evolve. But that is the danger, because as much as we're doing that, we're also trying to exploit. There's something called this mind which says, hey, you know what, I am the most powerful species on this world, and now I'm going to rule. Sorry. Bad news is that no, we're not. We are bound to evolve, but the question is when and how. If we all make a conscious effort to evolve, then I think we'll be in a better place. I'm not talking about saving Earth, okay? We're too insignificant to save this world, yeah? But what we can definitely do is we can be conscious and forward this, path of evolution where a human being can evolve to something which is better, which I have no answer to, but I do know I think we need to evolve. Right? And therefore, all our actions that we do as entrepreneurs, as human beings, every little breath of ours should, embody that purpose. I believe in it strongly. I can talk to you about it offline. And therefore, authenticity is a good story. Here I am as a story. Thank you very much.